Our brain is a very powerful thing, and my goal today, and I think my goal for my entire career, is to teach you to see more. See more of expectations and reality, things you don't expect to see. 4 years ago, almost to the day, I was sitting in this audience. I was actually sitting back in that corner over there. It was my very first WDS, and I was totally in awe. I was watching the speakers on stage, and I was inspired and activated, but this other thing started to happen, where it seemed like they had it all figured out, right? They had the perfect businesses, the perfect brands, and I started to have total niche envy. Everyone had the perfect niche, and I started to wonder, what's wrong with me? Why can't I figure it out? And I realized there's this kind of swan effect that we often see, right? The swan on the surface looks so smooth and easy and beautiful. Everything looks like it's all figured out and perfect. But just below the surface, that swan is paddling for her life. We very rarely see the murkiness, the chaos, the hustle. And so sitting in the audience 4 years ago, I made 2 vows. My first vow was that I would do everything it took. I would try to help as many people as I could to earn my way onto this stage. And that second, if I ever got here, I would share the whole story. I would talk about the murkiness and the chaos and the hustle and the ugly stuff that no one talks about. So today, So this is a new talk for me. I want to talk to you about the swan effect. I'm going to show you the real side of my business. So if you go to my Twitter, you see some swans, right? You see some followers and likes, that looks good. But you know what you don't see? You don't notice that I actually joined Twitter in October of 2007. I have 14,400 tweets. If you do some swan math, this means that it took 10 years of tweeting to crack the code. It took 3,600 days of tweeting to find my people. It took 14,400 tweets to find my voice. You also don't see that we have someone full-time, the amazing Lauren Freeman, who's behind the scenes every day helping me on Twitter, all for $0 of revenue. We do not directly monetize Twitter. We don't even know how to, really. So all those swans look really good, but behind the scenes, there's a lot more happening. If you go to my YouTube channel, you see some swans, right? You see some views and subscribers, great numbers, but you know what you don't see? You don't see that I have been on YouTube for 9 years. You don't see that behind every video, there is a giant studio of people. There's tons of gear. It takes hours to get this ready for a YouTube video, okay? We have so many people behind the scenes. That means it took 9 years of filming to crack the YouTube code. It took 437 videos to find my people. It took 2,567 pages of scripts to find my voice. $10,000 worth of gear. And Robbie Smith, who is full-time behind the scenes manning our YouTube channel, all for $0 of revenue. We do not advertise on YouTube. You also see pictures like this. I gave my first TEDx talk for the few weeks ago for the first time. It was a crazy experience, but you know what you don't see? You don't see the real story. You don't see that. And I think, I told my husband I was going to show my Spanx on stage, and he was like, no! Behind every business, behind every pretty dress, everyone is wearing a pair of Spanx to hold in the wobbly stuff, my friends, okay? Just because you can't see it, it doesn't mean it's not there. So now, I've decided I'm going to take off my Spanx. No. You don't want to see that shit. That's bad, okay? I'm nervous and there's lights. It's like a war zone. But you know they're there. So let's look at some more swans. So if you look at my website, you see all kinds of cool pictures and lots of shares and media logos. But you know what you don't see? You don't see that it took us 2,476 posts to figure it out. 106 pages, and by the way, this was the first version of our website. It took an additional 629 posts on the Science of People to figure it out. That's 11 years of blogging to crack the code. 3,105 blog posts to find my people. 1,000 unpublished blog posts that never made the cut to find my voice. 348 pages. Danielle Baker, who is tirelessly behind the scenes full-time running our content calendar. And no ads ever. We never run ads. You don't see all this work. You also see these big numbers for this year, but the whole story happens when you just scroll out a little bit. No one ever shows you these numbers, right? Here's the whole picture. Notice that for years, we had almost no traffic. On a good Monday in 2011, okay, we had 34 people, my mom, her hairdresser, and a couple friends. But here's the thing. All we needed was 34 people. We built an amazing community on 34 people. So I want you to think about, sometimes it's not about finding the most people, it's about finding the right people. And this brings me to another part of my presentation, get a little bit more into the murk. So in addition to being a recovering awkward person, I am also highly neurotic. Thank you for that clap. So being highly neurotic basically means that I am exceptionally good at worrying. So good, in fact, that this is a mantra I have. I worry I don't have something to worry about. Not to humble brag or anything, but I have the worry stamina of a horse. I can stay up all night without a break, just worrying the whole time. So while I was preparing for this presentation and worrying about it, I thought the most productive use of my time would be to make a pie chart of all the things that I worry about. I highly recommend doing this exercise. So I figured that about 28% of the time, I am worrying, am I the only one worrying right now? So I have a favor to ask. In a second, I'm going to share a couple of my worries, and I want to make sure I'm not the only one. So I'm going to share a worry, and then I'm going to ask anyone, and if you've ever had that worry, I want you to shout out as loud and as purposeful as possible, "Me too." Okay? So we're going to practice. So anyone? Me too. Here we go. 1% of me is always worried, can you see my pit stains? Me too. 1% of me is always worried, did I lock the door? Me too. Okay, now they're going to get deeper, okay? 1% of me is always worried, am I flossing enough? Me too. All right, let's try this one. 17% of me, as a recovering awkward person, is always worried, am I embarrassing myself right now? Me too. 6% of me is always worried, did I forget to put on underwear this morning? Me too. Oh. I wrote this presentation and I was like, what if it's crickets? Okay. 19% of me, right, as a people pleaser, is always a little worried. Do people like me? Me too. 28% of me, and this was the hard part that I had this morning, with the imposter syndrome going, am I worthy of this stage? Am I worthy of these people? Am I worthy of the success? Am I worthy? Anyone?
Me too.
Okay. Here's the thing. I think that shame fuels the fire of worry. When we sit alone with our worries, they grow and they grow. The only water for that fire is Me Too's. When you have other people where you share a worry and they say, me too, that's the only thing that quenches the worry. And you should know something chemically about high neurotics. Now, some of you are high neurotics in the audience, and others of you are low. So let me explain some chemistry about what's happening here. So high neurotics actually carry a long form of a certain gene. It's called the serotonin transport gene. Now, serotonin is a very important chemical. Serotonin is what keeps us calm. It makes us feel nice and centered, like we belong somewhere. So when a neurotic feels very upset, they actually have a slower time producing and transporting that serotonin. So imagine that you're on the way to work, you're driving in your car, and someone almost hits you. They don't hit you, but they almost do. All of a sudden, your adrenaline and cortisol start pumping. Serotonin is what comes into your body to calm you down again. High neurotics produce less serotonin and transport it more slowly. So it's harder for them to calm down. So when a high neurotic has that experience, they're like, ugh. And the low neurotic in the car is like, whew, we're all good. And the high neurotic's like, don't talk to me anymore. Me too. Yeah. Right? So what happens is in a relationship, a high neurotic and a low neurotic, a high neurotic is like, I'm so worried, I just don't know what I'm gonna be able to do. And the low neurotic's like, oh, don't worry about it. And you're like, no, no, no. And that is because we physically, chemically have a greater response to negative events. It also lasts longer. So when something bad happens to us, that badness stays with us for longer. We have a much harder time self-soothing. This is incredibly important for high neurotics because it means it explains our chemistry. We also tend to have an attentional bias. In other words, we pay more attention to negative information. So we could read 20 good reviews about a book or 20 great Instagrams, but if one bad one is in there, it destroys our whole day. Sound familiar? Okay. The problem is with this is the no's, the failures, the rejections, they feel more painful. And this is important for my low and high neurotics to know. So what I want to do is, at this point in the presentation, I figured some of you might be wondering, am I high or low neurotic? So what I want to do is I want to show you a couple of images. Now, these images are very graphic in nature, and they might be alarming to fellow neurotics. I'm going to have one more of those. Okay, so the following image for my high neurotics, this is going to get you. If it doesn't bother you, that means you're a low neurotic. Are you ready? Ready? Here we go. Oh. God. Oh, God. Here are just a couple of things that go through a high neurotic's mind. What if the zombie apocalypse happens? Just as bad, what if I see something amazing and I'm not able to Instagram it? What if I get lost? What if I need 911? I can't find my way home. It's the end of the world. You know what a low neurotic thinks when they see this? I've been wanting to take a technology break. Here's the next image. Okay, my high neurotics, get ready. Are you ready? Here we go. Oh, God. Oh my God. Oh. It's bad, right? So here is typically where my mind goes when I experience this. They're dead. Yep. Oh my God, they become zombies and they're texting while dead. They've been in a car accident, they're going to be late, they hate me. They're trying to think of a nice way to say that they hate me. Should I write more? It's the end of the world. You want to know what a lone neurotic thinks when they see this? They're just typing. Here's the next one. Oh, we're not done yet. All right, you ready for the next one? This one's pretty basic. End of the world, my friends. Want to know what a lone neurotic thinks? I'll call Uber. Now, the next one, this one is, I think, a universal. We're going to see. This one just doesn't make sense to me. Can anyone please explain this fucking image? I get it, you have Wi-Fi. Why are you exclaiming at me? What? Neurotics also have a very particular way of making friends. So here's the first stage of making friends for a high neurotic. First stage, find someone you enjoy talking to on a regular basis. 2, exchange contact information. 3, despite contrary evidence, assume that they dislike you. That went well. She probably hates me. 4, based on that assumption, never contact them first. 5. Anyone? Anyone? So, by the way, for this weekend, I have some Science of Peeps here, and they are my friendship ambassadors. Our number one goal is if you ever feel awkward or uncomfortable or alone, go find us and you will hang out with us, right? Peep, 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 peep. That's right? Go find us, and you never have to assume the worst. Now, I talked about the images. It's very important now for my high and low neurotics in the room that I talk about some of the worst possible things to say to a high neurotic. You ready for this? Never say it'll all be fine, because you know what we're thinking? It will only be fine if I think through every possibility, weigh the pros and cons, and invest enough worry time. And it's only ever fine because I'm always the one to worry about it beforehand. Some other really bad ones, calm down. I wouldn't worry about it. Worrying about it won't help. Anyone? Now, the next one is a little bit kind of mixed for a high neurotic. You know what I would be worried about? So, part of me is like, tell me. What would I be worried about? And part of me is like, don't tell me. Don't tell me. And then I'm like, okay, tell me. Just go ahead and tell me. That's fine. Tell me. Okay, but okay, repeat. Like, right? It's just like that cycle over and over again. I told someone who I thought was a friend, but actually was a friend of me, that I was about to speak on the WDS stage. And she's like, you know what I would be worried about? And I was like, what? What is it? Just don't tell me now. Tell me. Text it to me. Tell me. Fine. Tell me. And she was like, I would be worried about getting a standing ovation. And I was like, well, I wasn't worried about it before, but I sure as heck am now. Thank you very much. Because we as high neurotics feel like worry is an investment. You worry too much. It doesn't do any good. It does for me. 95% of the things that I worry about never happen. The problem is that worrying is not an investment in failure prevention. And we like to think this. We like to think if we think through all the possibilities, if we worry about it enough, the bad things won't happen. But I know this better than anyone, that failures still happen. So many of you might have seen that I came out with a book. Chris mentioned it in April, but a lot of you probably didn't know the story behind this book. I've actually written other books before, and I came out with a book in 2011. Actually, I wrote a couple self-published books first. It was always the goal to traditionally publish. And dream came true in 2011. A real-life publisher said, we're going to give you a shot. And I spent so much on this book. I was so excited about it. And it came out, and nothing happened. It was a total failure. No one bought it, no one read it, no one reviewed it, and it was so hard because creatives know that when you put yourself into something and people reject it, it feels like they're rejecting you. And so I just want to be really honest and tell you that that failure almost broke me. If it wasn't for as neurotic as I didn't bring any tissues. And if it wasn't for my husband and those 34 people, oh my God. Oh my God, thank you. Oh my goodness. If it wasn't for my husband and those 34 people, I do not know if I would have made it. I had a really hard time getting out of bed, and I had some very, very dark thoughts. You should also know about high neurotics. We have much higher rates of depression. We also are more unsure of what makes us happy. Something that I've tried to study, because that's what I do when I don't understand something. We also clinically have been found to have a more unstable sense of self. And I'm going to read a quote, and if it sounds like you, I would love you to say me too, own it. Neurotics keep trying on new self-definitions, like an insomniac who can't find a comfortable position in bed. Anyone? Yeah. And this was me. So when people ask me, how can I do what you do? How can I run a blog like you do or write a book like you do? What I really want to say to them, the full, honest story, is write 3,105 blog posts, film 437 videos, tweet 14,400 tweets, and hustle for 11 years. Here's the thing. When I was looking back on this, I realized that this was the best part. The hustle, the build, the climb. That's when you get to know yourself. That's when you find your people. And it does take longer than 10 blog posts for people to get to know you. It also takes longer for you to get to know yourself. Every part of the hustle teaches you something about you. And so I want to end on a final idea. There is this 10-meter diving tower in Denmark, and 2 filmmakers decided to film people climbing up to the top of this diving tower and taking a leap off of it. And what I think is amazing about this tower is it shows how each of us face our fears, talk to ourselves, and either jump off or not. Let's see who has the courage to jump.
Nej, för fan, jag vågar inte.
Nu kör vi. Nu kör vi.
Woo! So what's great about this video is you can kind of watch people in their moments of fear to see how they get themselves off this ledge. Oh.
Men hur känner du om jag hoppar då? Vill du stå kvar och...
Nej. Jag vill göra
What
först.
about if I jump? I want to jump first.
Om det är okej för dig. Ja. Okej. Ner, kolla ner istället. Nej. Nu får du bära eller bysta.
Men vänta, vad sa vi nu? Om du hoppar så hoppar jag också.
Faller du så faller jag, Frida.
Okej. Ta det försiktigt.
Ses på andra sidan. Ses i mangial.
Mangial.
Du kör, Frida.
Ja. Positivt, det är kul.
Åh, herregud!
Säg inget!
So, at this point in the video, you should be thinking, would I jump? If I was on the top of this tower, how would I get myself off of it? No. Wait. She can do it. So I have a final challenge for you. I want you to figure out what's your tower. Each of us in our lives have towers, and we're either climbing and building or we're jumping. You might be jumping into a new career, jumping out of a bad relationship, jumping into a side hustle, jumping out of a bad job. Whatever it is, I want you to find your tower, and I want you to enjoy the climb. For me, this is my tower, and I am so honored and grateful to be up here in front of you. So my final note to you is to don't forget to enjoy the climb, and when you're ready, all you have to do is jump. Thank you.